we are live. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are, wherever you're joining us from. Let us know in the chat. I saw an Audible link. No, you do not have to sign up for Audible if you saw that. Not sure what's going on with that, but thank you. And thank you for joining us. We've got a jam-packed session today. I'm going to dive right in with some housekeeping before we get started. Number one, y'all, if you've got questions, we're going to come back at the end. We've got a lot of information, but throw those in the Q&A chat as we go through the session today, and we will answer them live at the end. If you want to chat with us, share your thoughts, comments, memes, put it in the chat here. We'll be responding in the chat throughout the call. And then the recording. If you want to look at these slides or you want to look at this back at the end, we will send the recording out to you, and you can share it with your friends, your family, your mom, whoever wants to learn about HubSpot. With that, I will do a round of intros. I am your host today. I'm Ben at HubSpot. I work on our competitive intelligence team. I've been here about 2.5 years. I'm from Atlanta, but I live in Dallas. And yeah, anything that you see from HubSpot that's us versus competitors, it's likely that me or my team has had our hands in it. So that's me, but I will pass it off to our amazing RevPartners partners that we are joined by on this call. So Frank, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Great to meet everybody. I'm Frank Devine. I work as a solutions engineer here at RevPartners. The past 10 years I've spent in tech startups, working in sales, and then working my way into revenue operations. So I help our team scope out the technical requirements of engagements. So things like Salesforce migrations and understanding how to move business processes from that platform into HubSpot is my world.
I'll take it, Frank. I'm Brendan Tollison. I serve as the CEO of RevPartners. If you hear me cough, I apologize. That's because I came down with something. My wife told me last night I sound gross. So hopefully that doesn't translate to this webinar. My background, before I get to my background, just RevPartners, we're an elite partner of HubSpot. Ben called us a platinum partner during our prep, and it really hurt my soul. What we are known for is really the CRM and helping drive adoption of the Sales Hub platform. And so that's what RP is known for. We're an elite partner of HubSpot. And my background, just to give you that context, is for a lot of you, you're probably go-to-market leaders who are used to Salesforce. That is my background. So I've been in VC-backed technology companies for the last 15 or so years, from an SDR to an executive. And so that is my world. And I have been a Salesforce advocate for most of that time. But as you can see with my shirt and the sign above me, I've become a HubSpot fanboy, and I hope to translate that to everybody on this call.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, and apologies for not getting the partner status right. You're our favorite partner. You're our top tier partner. You are the best. The TLDR is, yeah, they work with a lot of customers, so they know exactly what all of you are going through with your tech stacks. So excited to hear from them today. And I will bring us into, before we get into all of that, we've got a lot. Maybe, yeah, let us know in the poll, what were biggest operational challenges with your current CRM? What brings you to our session today? Yeah, what's going on out there? I'll give y'all a second to respond. It should come up on the screen, and then you can let us know, and we'll see y'all's answers. Interesting, yeah. We have a lot of customers that come to us from Salesforce. We also have a lot of customers that use HubSpot with Salesforce. And then we also have a lot of other competitors. The CRM space is very big. So a lot of different tools and solutions out there. Now with other challenges, it looks like we got a lot of too complex or hard to use. I definitely hear that. We hear a lot of that. Inaccurate or inconsistent data. Yes, yes, yes. That is the foundation for a lot of AI. I know everybody's feeling that today. And then too expensive for the value. Yeah, definitely understand that as well. So I will jump right into our agenda for today. So yeah, I think given those, we are going to talk a lot about a lot of those things. So we'll cover why companies are switching today. Why do companies make the switch from Salesforce to HubSpot? What are some of the unique benefits that HubSpot offers? Then I'll dive into why we're winning and some of the process comparisons of what things are like in HubSpot versus Salesforce. We've got some side-by-side demos just to show you how it actually works and what it looks like inside the platform. Then we'll talk about the migration process, data systems, and some of the common challenges and pitfalls people face when migrating from one CRM to another. And then we'll show you a customer success story from RevPartners so you can hear from people just like you. And then, as I said before, we will return to Q&A. So drop your questions in the Q&A and we will come back and answer all of them live. So with that, I'm passing it off to Brendan. Yeah.
That newsreel on the bottom was actually super cool. All right, guys. So here's the thesis. So we RP language, we use this bottom line up front. It could also be like a TLDR. But so what you're going to hear and what I'm trying to lead you to, and the smarter people will actually convince you of that. But the thesis here is that go-to-market is fundamentally changed. And therefore, your systems need to change if you want to win in this new world. So the intent here is not to be a Salesforce bash or roast, maybe a little bit, but that's not the intent really. If we look at Salesforce, I mean, in a lot of ways, they are the pioneers. And so if you can go back to like the 90s, Siebel was a predominant tool. There's this push towards cloud, and Salesforce built an amazing juggernaut, and they deserve a ton of credit. So the natural question then gets into, well, why? Why are people actually considering a switch and moving off of Salesforce onto another platform? So you're go-to-market leaders, and so I don't want to preach to the choir too much, because a lot of even that poll speaks into where I'm about to go, but I will just reinforce that. How about that? So when you think about, there's this existential threat when you think about where we've been. So the old playbook was growth at all cost. The new playbook is capital efficient growth. Okay. And so the old playbook was pretty straightforward. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it's pretty straightforward, meaning raise a bunch of money, hire a bunch of people, and scale. But that is no longer the world that we all live in. And you've experienced that, you felt that. And so as capital is compressed, I mean, there's not as much VC money out there to use. There are areas around customer acquisition cost, CAC, for example, that is taking the limelight. So it's all about how we find that balance of revenue plus profit. As you can see, the new growth standard, you have this idea of the rule of 40, which has become the baseline metric for most companies around capital efficiency, which is revenue plus profit. If you nerd out on earnings reports like I sometimes do, HubSpot actually just came out with their Q2 earnings report last night, and they are right at that 40 number, which is pretty impressive when you consider how big HubSpot is. So the natural implication for you as a go-to-market leader is like, how do I reduce my cost? And there are two areas that comes into. One's headcount on the people side, but the other one gets into the tech stack. But the challenge you have is, okay, that's pretty straightforward in terms of where you need to go, but you've either inherited a team, you inherited an organization that wasn't set up for that success. And so the old world was very much centered around at the department level. And so you're in the marketing team, you're in the sales team, you're in the CS team. Each department or function was empowered with whatever tool or point solution made sense for their specific domain. Well, that created this tools proliferation. In G2, as you can see here, we had over 20, or most companies have over 20 pieces of tech inside their system. And that alone is not necessarily a problem, but what you see is it creates a lot of complexity in the system. And in fact, 73% of revenue leaders say disconnected systems slow down growth. And so you had to say, well, is that slowing down growth from a systems perspective? And this gets into what a lot of you already started sharing in the poll, which is as you have this tools proliferation, you now have a data conundrum, because all these systems don't connect properly. And that growth and that proliferation creates a ton of complexity. And so you can see that, I mean, I don't have to preach to all you guys, but when you have this lack of trust in the data, you start to have division, not alignment. And so marketing, I mean, raise your hand if you have a sales team that says the marketing lead, the MQLs are crap, or the marketing team says, well, the sales team isn't any good. We gave them great leads. And so you have this huge problem inside of the organization that's creating a lot of friction where there's no trust as the central truth. Now, this isn't just at the go-to-market leader level in terms of what you're responsible for. This isn't just at the data level. This has a significant impact on your people. And I'm talking specifically about sales reps. And so one of the other metrics that people are now looking at is revenue per employee. And what's the productivity per rep? Well, if you have systems that are disconnected and data that people don't trust, it really changes the paradigm of what a rep is expected to do. So remember the old world where salespeople actually sold? And this is a bit of a joke, where the world was good. Now it's become more of a compliance function. And sales reps are spending way too much time, almost half of their time, on non-selling work. And that's not the recipe for success. That's not the recipe for growth. And the other implication and impact here is that it has a retention problem. And so when your reps aren't doing the things that they are, design is a strong word, but they're asked to do, it leads to retention. You can see the talent turnover on the bottom. They're 2.5 more likely to leave when they feel blocked by process or tech. Now, let's say, now we know that, hey, the task is capital efficient growth, which means I need to do fewer headcount. I need to look at fewer technology. What is that normal state? Well, the overarching narrative here is that the way that you experience capital efficient growth is removing friction in your go-to-market from a system perspective and from a people perspective. And so the old world that we've already talked about is really revolves around friction. And this new world that we're going to really argue is a frictionless experience that gets into a unified tech stack, that gets into adoption of the said system, and that reduces the overall tech debt that exists within your system. The last slide I'll leave you with, just kind of as a concluding thought, and maybe of all, like I said, this wasn't a Salesforce roast, but this will be my one kind of minor roast here. So what this is trying to show you guys is if you look at a side-by-side comparison of Salesforce versus HubSpot, what this is showing you is once both companies achieved 100 million in ARR, how much did they invest back into their product? And so when HubSpot says they solve for the customer, they put their money where their mouth is. In fact, they spent 900 million more than Salesforce of the last 11 years product. So when we say that, or when they say, I should say, that HubSpot is a CRM platform for scaling companies, moving from a point solution, meaning marketing automation, to a true platform for a go-to-market team, this allows that to be possible. So with that, here's a poll, or another poll question for you guys as I transition it over to them.
Yeah, so I think the first one we were asking about, what's bringing you to this webinar, and then, this next one, maybe what's driving your evaluation of CRM alternatives, talking about the pain. What are you guys, what brings you here, I guess, today? It looks like frustration with system complexity. Okay, number one. Scaling teams or evolving go-to-market strategy. Wow, yeah, we hear that one a lot. Just exploring what else is out there. Yeah, that's great too. Hello, all these people just in the exploration stage. We love you. And it's good. It's good to plan early because with these CRM systems, especially with Salesforce, you often sign these long-term contracts. And so it's better to get ahead of a migration early, get thinking about what systems you want to use and what the migration is going to look like off of that system way before you get to your renewal date. So definitely great that you're here learning about that. So with that, we're transitioning to why HubSpot, y'all. So again, not to roast Salesforce. Salesforce is great, but they really built for the enterprise. Invented software as a service in 1999. They were very revolutionary, and since then they've grown to one of the largest software companies. And they really build today for the biggest, most complex businesses in the world. A lot of the Fortune 500 companies use Salesforce, and they're a very sales and marketing-led organization, as you can see. Brendan was talking about with the R&D. I think that's one of the key benefits of being at HubSpot, and one of the key benefits of our product is we really have been designed for small businesses. We have this ethos that every business deserves a great CRM from startup to scale up, and we've designed with the product in mind and really tried to lead with product innovation, product value, and we really listen to our customers and try to deliver a lot of updates. We have a ton of updates released every biannual release we call it Spotlight. Every 6 months, we're releasing a ton of updates, 200 plus this past one. So a ton of innovation, but really what sets HubSpot apart, I think, if I had to create an analogy for HubSpot versus Salesforce, the way we like to describe it is Salesforce is like buying a plot of land and building your own house. People who love to customize things, people who want to build their own systems, admins, architects, they love Salesforce. HubSpot is like buying a house. You get everything pre-designed, you can move in, it's ready, it's wonderful for you to enjoy. It's designed for specific use cases and really built for a fast time to value. So I kind of think some of the biggest differentiators are, one, we have a unified platform, everything's integrated. HubSpot is one seamless unified application across marketing, sales, and service. You don't know where one app begins and the next ends. And then that delivers, better collaboration and alignment across your teams. And ultimately, that ease of use plus that alignment across your teams delivers better business results and faster time to value for your business to keep up with those emerging trends and stay ahead of your own competition. But that's just me. There's a lot of words on this slide. Frank, do you want to add anything else here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I normally see or what I hear from a lot of our prospects and a lot of our clients is, the first three bullets here. They're really trying to just create alignment and unify all of their tools and systems. That's sort of the silver bullet everybody's looking for. What I think they find when they move into HubSpot is really a system rather than building through acquisition and, okay, let's get this marketing automation platform, let's get this sales platform, let's glue them all together. HubSpot has been purpose built from the ground up. And so by really having equal efficiency in each of these, key business areas, from customer success to marketing to sales to whatever else, they really start to unlock a lot of that value that they're trying to get. And then you get into the other pieces, the additional bullets here around like just everything you can do with it. But once you get your teams all working on the same sheet of music, it really changes things. And I think that that's one of the biggest advantages of using the HubSpot.
Yes, amen. And yeah, here's our kind of HubSpot on a slide to illustrate that point. I think, the key takeaway here is your whole front office on one customer platform. Again, we built everything to be super integrated. It's all on one integrated code base, and it's all one shared customer record across all of our applications. So you've got our hubs, which are for things like sales, marketing, service. And then it's underpinned by our smart CRM Breeze intelligence layer for data enrichment. And then you've also got our Breeze AI, which includes your co-pilot inside the application. You've got our agents, and then you've got those embedded AI features across our app. And HubSpot's great as standalone, but we also want to help you build a best-in-class tech stack. Maybe unlike other providers out there who want to own your tech stack and want to have all of your tech spend, we really want you to have a best-in-class tech stack. We really believe in bringing your whole front office onto HubSpot, but we don't do everything for your business, and we recognize that. So we have a ton of pre-built things with a lot of partners, so you can build your best-in-class tech stack. I don't know, Frank, if you wanted to add any other information. I think maybe some of the experiences you've had with customers considering Salesforce integrations versus HubSpot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I've seen change over the last 5 years is you hear all these different apps coming up. We talked about the tool Proliferation. And once everybody picked out a cool logo and a cool name with no vowels, they said, all right, we need to integrate with Salesforce. That was the next step. Now it's, okay, we have to be able to integrate with Salesforce and with HubSpot. HubSpot is that commonly used, and it's growing that rapidly that there's so much opportunity. And what you see when you get into the app market is there's a multitude of native tools and integrations that already exist out of the box. So we're able to solve for many of our clients, hey, let's move you and your core data, your CRM information over, and you can retain the majority of your tech stack as is if you really like those tools. And there's quick native integrations to get you up and running on those different pieces.
Yeah, no, totally. 1,800 plus native integrations, open APIs if you want to build your own integrations, UI extensions if you want to build your own custom stuff inside the HubSpot application. And yeah, I think when people think CRM, Salesforce loves to say they're the number one CRM. I know they have great brand awareness. Everybody knows who Salesforce is. But again, it's because it's used by those largest businesses in the world and because they spend a lot of money on sales and marketing. If you actually look at customer count, HubSpot has more customers than Salesforce does.
Yeah. What you start to see as well is there's now companies being purpose-built to live in the HubSpot ecosystem, which I think is really cool. That was something that existed for Salesforce originally. Now we're starting to see brands like Supered come out and create really awesome platforms to help you supercharge your experience in HubSpot. So I'm very excited to see where that vein goes.
No, totally. The ecosystem for HubSpot is very strong. And I think definitely one of the big advantages of working with the HubSpot ecosystem. We have great partners. And the other thing about the partners that I'll say is that we have partners who understand the whole platform. So unlike going with a Salesforce where you may work with a partner who only understands one cloud and you have to work with a swath of different partners, a lot of our partners really specialize across the whole ecosystem, and that helps deliver more value to you and advise on business strategy and how you can get the full advantage out of the platform. And that's kind of the point of this slide is the ROI of using HubSpot. Here's a couple different case studies, real stories from some of our customers about how they had fast onboarding. If you're worried about switching to the platform, if you're going to be able to onboard quickly, these customers had 90-day onboardings. The fast adoption that they got with their users, that's another key benefit we hear often is people struggle to use Salesforce or to get their sales teams or marketing teams to actually use the platform. HubSpot's easier to use, often leads to better adoption across your teams, which means you're actually getting the value out of your tech stack. And then ultimately, that's delivering results for your business. And so we see a lot of great success with our businesses who switch, who are able to drive more revenue growth, more inbound leads, more signups, marketing, sales, service results with HubSpot. So that's kind of why HubSpot, but I'm going to pass it back over to, I think, Brendan or Frank.
This one's me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. One of the things that we as a company at RevPartners pride ourselves on and try to bring into conversations is this mentality of show, don't tell. We've all been on sales calls. We've all heard the bells and whistles and the wonderful things that tools can do for us. But my goal here was I wanted to show you guys in practical terms what the interface is like. What's the difference using HubSpot versus using Salesforce? Because otherwise it's not real. So I picked out 2 use cases that I figured, regardless of who you are, what division of your company you work within, marketing, sales, CS, etc., there are certain universal things that these platforms need to do to support all teams. So one of them is, how do you automate something? And the second is, how do you build a report? So I wanted to show side-by-side comparison of both of those pieces. So we will start out with building a report. So in this use case, I went through and I said, hey, I want to build a report on opportunities because I need to essentially get like a funnel view. So I went to my report section and was able to pull out the opportunities report. But as you see, there's a ton of options. Sometimes I got overwhelmed understanding which one I wanted to pick. Do I need to have multiple objects involved? But once I'm into my opportunities layout, it's got a lot of preset fields in there for me already, which is nice. And then I'm going to pull in my data. So now I've got essentially a spreadsheet. That's great, but I'm building a report. I want to create a visualization, except add chart is blacked out. I can't select it. I don't understand why it's grayed out. So I switched over to HubSpot. I said, I want to do the same thing. I need to see my revenue for our deals, as they're called in HubSpot, by stage. So just using the universal search at the top, was able to quickly find reports and navigate to this section. What you'll see here is that the layout is a lot more designed to guide any user, not just advanced admin users, but any user into where do I need to go? What do I need to find? I'll also point out there was AI generated reports. I'm not going to show it to you in this video, but it's pretty incredible being able to say, like, give me a funnel report that shows me revenue by stage, and it pulls it up for you automatically. But if you want to go through and build it yourself, again, you have your single object report. You pull in your deals, and then you can select, I want to report on, I need to look at a specific pipeline. So quickly add a filter for the pipeline that you need. And then, as you'll see in a minute, as I get into the visualizations, hey, I don't actually care about including closed lost on this visualization. I want to just come in and filter that out. But again, HubSpot recognizes you're building a report, you want a visualization, it's right there. Pick your data source, pick the time frame that you want to see, the data points that you want, and then it says, tell me which kind of visualization you want. And then simple drag and drop to pull forward, and now you're quickly to the point that you want to be at, building reports that are actionable for you, that are visualizations. You can pass this to executives within your company. You can pass it to end users. People understand that visualization, and it's just a much easier interface to navigate and to get to what you want. So the second video I wanted to show you guys is around building a workflow. So being able to automate tasks is a super important piece. We all understand there's manual things that we want to do. So in this video, we're showing how to create a lead routing workflow. Use the universal search again, type in workflow, it pops right up. And you can come through, and it's essentially like a wizard, almost like drag and drop. You can go through and easily find the things that you're curious about. So I want to get contacts. I know that when the lifecycle stage gets updated, that should be the trigger to enroll somebody and to start pushing them through this workflow. So when I say their lifecycle stage changes to lead, and now they are qualified as a lead, I can quickly and easily say, all right, now my next step is, what do I want to do? I want to the ownership to a new person. And here's what, again, I like about HubSpot. It becomes pretty easy to say, I want to send it to specific users, or you can utilize the team functionality to select, hey, just send it to a member of the marketing team and rotate through them in order. So quick and easy, we're able to get a basic workflow up and running within a few minutes. And again, you're not having to code anything. You're not having to do advanced thinking or Googling of different things to try and figure out how I'm going to build this workflow. On the flip side, when you go into Salesforce, it is a little bit more difficult. The universal search bar at the top doesn't actually take you to what you need. You need to know that there's this secondary search here on the top left, the app launcher. There you can find flows. But if you don't know what the difference between a process builder, a flow, a workflow, or a trigger is, you may not select the right type of automation. Once you get into flows, it will try and guide you through a similar wizard type interface, but there's a lot more technical components to this experience, this interaction. It's not immediately apparent to the average user where they need to go, what they need to do to try and get their workflow to work correctly. So there's a lot of pieces in here where you start to see the typical Salesforce story. You need to have a level of expertise, additional training beyond an average user to get in there and be effective. So when we talk about companies that want to scale quickly, that are looking for efficiencies, if you're spending time on ChatGPT or Googling or trying to figure out how to do these different automations, how much time are you actually saving? So this is just a quick side-by-side comparison. Again, not here to roast Salesforce, but for me, when it comes to building things and following logical flows for the average user, HubSpot wins hands down. All right, now let's get into a little bit more of my world. So when I'm helping organizations to start the conversation and map out all of the different things that they need to consider when making a big decision, a data migration, a CRM migration is a huge undertaking. In a previous world, I migrated from Pipedrive to Salesforce and then to HubSpot in an 18-month period. It was a little hellish, but I learned a lot about migrations. And now I do it professionally. So here's where and why Salesforce migrations start to get messy. My slides have a lot of words. I'm not going to read them to you, but I want to try and cover out all of the different pieces here. Salesforce oftentimes has grown in an unsustainable manner. Right? We all are guilty of doing things too quickly. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on this for right now. I'll get back to it and fix it later. And then it grows into this monster. So we start to see things that are over-customized. We start to see rogue workflows. And then there's also the difference between leads and contacts, right? Fundamentally, Salesforce has two objects for what HubSpot does in a single object. So there's a lot of things that we do as an organization at RevPartners to help. One, take a breath. Let's talk through your processes. Start at the beginning. How does a person discover your organization? How do they become a contact in your database? And let's go all the way through. As we talk through that, we can map it out. We're going to create visualizations of your process, and then we'll identify those areas that need the most attention. And then other things that you might not think about, like scattered file attachments. I think this is one of the biggest areas that people just sort of assume is going to happen. Oh, you migrated my data. But where are all the files attachments? Where are all the contracts? Where's all of the different documents that we've created throughout this? What about my email attachments? Those aren't included. Yeah, these are the types of things that we have to think about. You did bring them over, but did they get associated to the correct records? It needs to be associated to this company as well as this contact, as well as that contact. And so these are sort of the delicate behind the scenes things that we think about on behalf of our partners. So you guys can think about, what do I need HubSpot to do for me? And we'll take care of the back end. So what you notice when you'll switch, this is more of sort of translating terms from Salesforce to HubSpot, but obviously leads and opportunities have different names and different objects within HubSpot. But then when you get into customized fields, there's a lot more control. There's a lot less coding or logic that you have to build in to make your properties work correctly. They're called properties now, not fields anymore. Things like campaigns, though, I think you're getting a big upgrade in functionality moving into HubSpot, being able to organize multiple different marketing collateral pieces and measuring the effectiveness of them as a group of things rather than just a single marketing activity. Reporting we touched on, but I think reporting is, again, an area where people try to give HubSpot a black eye, and it's just not fair. HubSpot reporting is as robust, if not more robust, than Salesforce in so many ways, not to mention like the sales analytics built in natively. It used to take me weeks in Excel and spreadsheets to build things like funnel reports, average sales cycle time, average deal size. All of these different things would take forever because I'd have to export them out, and I couldn't do it in Salesforce the way that I wanted. Now you get your HubSpot, you log in, and those reports are already built there. HubSpot knows there are common use cases that everyone needs to know. So they just built it natively into the platform. So what else happens within your tech stack? We talked about the app ecosystem. There's a lot of different things. You need to be considering your entire tech stack when you're doing a migration. You're essentially doing a heart transplant, right? You're taking out your CRM, you're putting something else in. So here's just a quick overview of some of the common tools that we see people needing to solve for. So Slack and ZoomInfo quickly integrate with HubSpot. Calendly gets replaced by native HubSpot functionality. So that's one less contract, one less expense that you have. And then Marketing Cloud. HubSpot or Salesforce CPQ, they're all being replaced again by native HubSpot apps. And they are at parity in terms of what you need them to do. This last one, wanted to quickly walk through again. What should you think of when thinking about a timeline for something like this? On average, we see about a 3-month process of like dedicated focused work on a migration. We have engagements that run longer because they're looking at additional integrations and other things after the fact. But the core work of mapping out, planning, and starting your migration process, about 3 months on average. So we start with our discovery and planning and our mapping and scoping section. We need to understand where you're at today, what's working, what isn't, that we need to then solve once we're moving into HubSpot. We'll do a test migration of your data, as well as then rebuilding the workflows that need to be done. Now we can move your data over. So understand what you need, build the framework in HubSpot, test it out with a small set of data, make sure that it works, bring in the full data set. And now that everything's in there, I can build and layer in my reporting, and then I can go live in HubSpot and start working on training and adoption and driving your users to find success in them. All right, this should be just about my last one. Common migration pitfalls. They say a wise man learns from his mistakes, but like a really smart man learns from others' mistakes. That's my goal in this slide, is I want to help you guys avoid the mistakes that have been made so often by other companies trying to do these migrations. So number one area that we see issues with: inadequate, inaccurate, insufficient data mapping. Understanding how are you going to move from leads and contacts just to contacts? How do I need to solve for my custom objects that I've built in Salesforce? Do I need custom objects in HubSpot, or can they be served by a native object? Ignoring customizations like your custom objects, or looking at other platforms that you've built on top of it. I remember we were helping an organization map out a migration last year. They had about 30 different tools that they needed to migrate from Salesforce into HubSpot. And it took a long time for us to get everything organized, but they had built fully customized interfaces and customer portals that needed to be solved for. And those are things you cannot rush. You need to understand exactly why they went the effort of building out a fully dedicated platform. Bad data. This is just par for the course, it seems, with CRMs. It doesn't have to stay this way forever, and a migration is a perfect time forcing function to take a hard look at your data. How can we go through deduplication? What can we do to segment or improve the data? If we went full suite HubSpot, okay, now we've got Operations Hub. How can we set up Operations Hub to maintain our data moving forward, clean it through this migration, and then set it up to maintain it? Poor stakeholder alignment, I think, is another big one. We're all searching for this unified platform, and that means unified teams, but these teams are siloed. And sometimes these teams are at each other's throats. So taking the time to slow down and say, let's get everyone in the room, and we as Rev partners will help guide through conversations, make sure everybody gets an equal voice. So we're building a solution that everyone can get around, because that is a huge way that CRM migrations and new tool adoption fails. You'll have a detractor, you'll have a team that just doesn't like it. We got to get ahead of that up front. Failure to plan for training and not planning in advance. These, again, are big issues. We get too stuck in the technical of what needs to get done. I've got my Miro boards, I've got process maps, I've got my Excel files, I've got whatever I need. But if we don't think about who's going to use this at the end of the day, why are we leaving the old platform? Because everybody hates it. Then they need to be the people I'm thinking about right now as I'm building this new solution. How are they going to adopt and get into this new platform? And not planning in advance is, so many people come to us and say, hey, we renew in 45 days. Can you help us? Yeah, we can. You're going to have to make some hard decisions, and you're going to have to say goodbye to certain things. So giving yourself enough breathing room to take the time that you need to go through an adequate mapping, align people, all of these different components. So all of that, a lot of information about different things related to migrations, but we also wanted to share with you a success story of one of ours. So I'll pass this over to Brendan to set the stage.
All right, I'm back. I'll be quick. This is a dangerous few slides for me, because those that know me know that I'm an idiot when it comes to technical things from the slideware perspective. So hopefully I do the video right. But as I get into the video, I just want to share a few key pieces that will, I think, provide helpful context. If we go back to the very beginning of this conversation, we were talking about a specific industry. Largely, this was around software. But one of the things I want to make sure it's clear, especially as I've seen in the chat too, that this is really industry agnostic. And so this is for companies that are looking to grow. And so I've seen nonprofit in the chat. I've seen services. This is applicable regardless of industry. And in fact, you'll see this with FMG because FMG is not in software. They are in the financial services space. And they are, the second thing I get into is industry size. Oftentimes, even it's on the chat is, hey, it's only at a certain size where HubSpot makes sense. And then eventually you graduate from HubSpot. This will displace that narrative, or displace is the wrong word, but it will replace that narrative because this is a mid-market to commercial size company. The last thing, and for a lot of you, this may be your use case. And what I mean by that is you have Marketing Hub in place and you have Salesforce from a CRM perspective. And so when we think about how that natural progression or evolution of your business, how do I have a unified tech stack? That's what you'll hear from FMG. So with that, I'm going to try it.
I'm Lindsay Mazzacco. I'm the Director of RevOps at FMG. So far, my role has mostly included the full setup of RevOps at FMG. We previously did not have a formal RevOps function. So we're starting from scratch. So I've built that up, working with RevPartners, and it encompasses everything from supporting customer service, sales, and marketing. So FMG needed a partner to fully develop our RevOps function at FMG. We wanted someone to come in and help us be the expertise in our new system, HubSpot, and help us set up best practices, things that we could scale, ensuring we had solid data quality to get great insights, and making sure all the teams were bought into this new function. So that's why we chose RevPartners. We've had an incredible experience with RevPartners. Again, we needed expertise. We definitely got that. We got folks who understood HubSpot, understood the system capabilities as well as limitations, had, a ton of playbooks to help us run. And then we're also just down to be flexible. I think starting from absolute scratch is tough, and working with a business that is interested in learning, but also has a lot of rules that we've already developed and teams that have their own processes. You need someone who's able to be flexible and open and can still every once in a while sort of lay down the law on what a best practice is. And so that's been our experience. It's been great. Not a precise professional business favorite, but probably my favorite thing about having a RevPartner strategist, one in particular, is that we have a really solid culture at FMG. We have a sense of humor. We definitely have fun, and we needed someone to partner with us who wasn't always serious and could get our sense of humor and roll with us. And we definitely got that. My best advice would be that balance that I kind of talked about before, of being open to new advice. I think especially if the business is more seasoned, but you're starting this new function, it can be hard to find that balance. So I would say that is the best advice, is being open to change, but being able to figure out which of your business rules are important to persist through your new architecture.
It's not magic. It's RevPartners.
All right. With that, oh gosh, this is why you don't let me do slides. We're going to open it up to Q&A. I know that the chat has been busy. Ben, I'm going to give it to you because it's probably best that I don't drive this, but I'd be happy to get color commentary.
Oh, yeah. No, I saved a couple of the chats where people were asking questions so we can chat through that. And I think we have this fun little, I don't know what to call this. We're all in circles now. With the questions on the screen, that's great. So how does HubSpot handle billing? We have a custom workflow in Salesforce. It manages our subscription process and products for orders, additions, and renewals. I think this is talking about our quotes product. Is that what y'all guys are picking up from this question?
Yeah, it's quotes, but it's also just if you're going through renewals and you've got a subscription, so then you're going to need more advanced functionality, and there are subscriptions natively now within the HubSpot platform. So it's a, not to be a cop-out, but it would be needing to understand your exact process of what you have automated. But the functionality exists within HubSpot. It's more of a question about how do we need to configure it? What are your specific needs? But it exists there. You're not having to code and build things from scratch to try and hotwire something together.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think we have obviously Commerce Hub, which has our billing, and then our Sales Hub product has quotes in it. You can partner with some of our integration partners if you have really advanced billing or quoting needs like MobileForce or Deal Hub. And then within the past year, we acquired a company, one of our former partners, Cashflow. So there's a lot more coming to the HubSpot roadmap for our quotes and billing and subscriptions products soon, hopefully. And inbound is in a month, and there's going to be a ton of updates and innovation happening there. So definitely check that out. But I'll move on to question number 2. Do clients of HubSpot have the opportunity to get a sandbox to try these flows before building them out in the prod environment? Any out-of-the-box processes for production releases? I see, Frank, you nodding your head. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely sandboxes. Ben, I'll let you speak to at which level they come automatically. I know at enterprise, you absolutely get a sandbox included with your subscription. Because I know there was a follow-up about like it better not cost 20% of the subscription cost. It is included. The sandbox does work. Now, it does work slightly differently than what you may be used to in a Salesforce sandbox, but there are solutions to quickly take what you've built in your sandbox and then go and deploy that into your production environment.
Yep, totally. And yeah, Sandbox is included with HubSpot. It's an enterprise grade feature, but because we're seat-based, so say you just have one Sales Hub enterprise seat, you have Sandbox. So pretty easy. There you go. We can go to the next question. What if I only want to migrate away from Marketing Cloud, but I want to continue with the Sales Cloud since I only manage marketing and sales don't want to own both? Do you have a case study with HubSpot for marketing and Sales Cloud for sales? Yes, we have a ton of customers that use HubSpot and Salesforce concurrently. In fact, we have over 10,000 customers that use our native Salesforce integration. We have a dedicated team that manages that specific integration here at HubSpot. It's a big use case because ripping out your entire CRM is not something someone wakes up at 8 a.m. in the day thinking, I'm about to rip everything out. So that's actually a very common path that we see where customers evaluate maybe just Marketing Hub, and then they replace their Marketing Hub with, or Marketing Cloud with HubSpot Marketing Hub, and then they realize how awesome HubSpot is as a platform, and then they maybe migrate over their sales CRM to HubSpot Sales Hub. And that's the other thing I would highlight there too is you can find those case studies on our webinar. I'll try to drop some in the chat. But if you're trying to compare HubSpot sales and Salesforce Sales Cloud, Salesforce Sales Cloud is more like HubSpot CRM, which is included in any of our products that you buy. When you think about Sales Hub at HubSpot, it's our CRM plus all of our sales engagement tools. So you have the calling and you have the quotes tools and you have all the sales engagement, the sequences, the one-to-one email, all that's included. With Salesforce, when you buy the Sales Cloud at Salesforce, it's just the CRM. And then all those additional features like the sequences and the billing and the quoting and all that stuff, those are all additional add-ons that you have to purchase. So just wanted to, plug that as well. Any other thoughts here? Yeah, I know, I speak a long time.
No, you're good. This is a common area that we either help take over and manage for some of our more enterprise level clients where they're managing millions of contacts and having to have a sync between HubSpot and Salesforce. But it is a common use case, right? HubSpot is known for being best in class at marketing automation. So coming over and getting your feet wet in HubSpot in Marketing Hub is a great way to get started. Now, there are some things to be aware of when you're setting up this type of integration. Obviously, there is a super powerful native integration, but you need to be thinking about things like HubSpot doesn't have a lead object in the way that Salesforce does. So I need to be mindful of that when I'm setting up my integration. I need to be mindful of what data exists in Salesforce and do I want all of it on the HubSpot side. So being thoughtful to things like inclusion lists or rules for when data gets synced, which direction and who's going to be in charge in terms of the data on the HubSpot side overwrites data on Salesforce for these data points. So just some thought into how do you configure that integration, but this is absolutely a very common use case that we have.
And just a quick other color commentary, Veronica, for you. This could have changed as of recently, but up until my most recent data, HubSpot, there's actually more customers using HubSpot and Salesforce than Pardot and Salesforce, which is our Marketing Cloud product. So the use case is very, very common. And you'll be a very good company.
Yeah, limited sandbox. I know some of our sandbox features have maybe been more limited in the past, and Salesforce definitely has a very robust sandbox offering. However, this is definitely something for our product team that we've been working on. So we've been expanding our sandbox functionality. So maybe if you checked it out in the past, check it out again, and then also check out some new updates that hopefully will be coming at Inbound this year. I don't know if you want to speak to some of the more specifics, Frank or Brendan, about this.
I mean, I think this is an area where I like to be honest and say, yeah, the ability to have an exact replica of your instance from Salesforce is a great advantage. And HubSpot, I know, is going to get there. So there are certain things that you will have to be thoughtful of when you're trying to test things. So in most instances, and we've helped hundreds of clients navigate moving around in HubSpot and building complicated things, there have been very few instances that I can ever think of where the sandbox that we had access to from HubSpot was insufficient for our testing needs. And in instances where there are times that, hey, maybe we just need to do this live in production, those are things that you can establish best practices around, doing it in off hours, doing it over the weekend, those types of things that can be leveraged from a process standpoint when the platform itself doesn't have that functionality for you.
Yeah, and I just confirmed too. We definitely do have updates coming at inbound. So in a month, stay tuned for that. And yeah, very excited. So, okay, stay tuned on that one. The most difficult part for me is to sell the idea of the migration internally. May I ask to send some more materials? Yes, definitely. We have some materials at the end that we'll be sharing with you. You'll get this recording and webinar. And then if you want more materials, meet with us or RevPartners. We have a ton of materials internally, and we will help you build the business case for your business to help sell other people on why HubSpot is a great solution for you guys. Additional costs to help design it and our program needs. So yeah, this is really going to depend on the features and specifics that you want to build. Some of this stuff might be easily available for you to kind of configure with your in-house team. But then, of course, we have all of our awesome partners, rep partners included, that can help you build out stuff, which, depends on what you need to build out. I don't know if you guys want to talk to some of the specifics here.
Yeah, this is a fun one. That's the best part about my job. All the work that I do designing solutions is included. It's free. It's just the part of the sales process. For the same person who just said, like, how do I sell this internally? Like, having adequate scoping that is comprehensive, that shows an understanding of your use cases and what you need done, it's just a requirement. You're not going to get signatures on contracts unless you can prove to people what you're going to do and that it's going to work. So we do all of that included as part of our sales process up front. Let's figure out what you need to solve for, and then I will show you how we will do it. We'll prove it out before we have to get started.
Additional sandboxes. I need to check on this one. I think it's possible, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. Do you guys know off the top of your head?
I've at least had one of our partners have multiple sandboxes because I got added to multiple, but that's a single data point. So if you want to confirm.
Yeah, let me follow up on that.
I think this is probably a good segue, guys, here for going into the resource section. Just be mindful of time. I don't know if I'm able to move into that, but something that was just mentioned that I think is really important is because it's not just about feature functionality in terms of parity or even better. It's, as Z mentioned, like, how do I get buy-in from internal stakeholders? Because this is not a small decision. There's risk associated with that, and there's also change associated. And so what we're trying to give you guys is assets that you can use, and we're happy to support in these. But the first one gets into migration scoping. I know a few of you already asked for that. So that is for you. So you'll have not only the recording of the webinar, but you'll have access to this document, and then also the mapping. Even to Ann's question now, how much of what you're looking for is satisfied within that mapping template, but at least gives you a starting point. And so our desire is to be a resource for you because you're here for a reason and you're considering what does it look like to move off of. And so these are two good, ready assets for you to start playing with. And we'll make sure that you have access to that after.
Yeah, and I think there's if you want to chat with us further, build out a business case, learn more. I know someone was asking about pricing. We didn't go into that too much, but if you want to talk to someone about your specific use case and needs, book some time with us at RevPartners and we can chat with you more about that. I think pricing, oftentimes, a lot of customers save money, especially on total cost of ownership, considering their whole tech stack coming from Salesforce to HubSpot. But it really depends on your specific business use case to kind of figure out what exactly those numbers are. And then, do we have any other questions we can ask or answer while we're hanging on here for the last couple of minutes, Elika? Did we get them all? Amazing. I think we did get them all. Okay. Well, if you're still here, thank you for hanging out with us. Follow up with us. You can connect with us, reach out to us on LinkedIn, on email. We hope this was helpful, informative, interesting. If you're still in the early exploratory stages, hello. If you're considering a move or actively working on it, let us know, see how we can help. And thank you for joining us, and follow up with us if you have any questions.
Thanks, everybody.